Hi, I'm John Witham, and I want to welcome our audience to this behind-the-scenes look at the production of The Twilight Angel and the people that did it. I was the cinematographer, I co-directed, and I did the lighting and co-produced the soundtrack.
Portent of what was to come. I should have gone back.
I'm Julie Schumer. I was the producer of the project. I managed our budget and kept the guys on track in terms of the timing of the project. James had served in Vietnam and had many stories to tell about that experience. About 7 years ago, he took a monologue workshop class here in Santa Fe, and out of that class came a play which we produced, and he performed here in Santa Fe and in Albuquerque a number of times to great acclaim.
And I was twisting and trying to get free, and I could feel the jungle pulling me down and pulling me down, and far off down by the river in the south, I hear the choppers coming to get me. Listen to the choppers. Tom, Tom, thump of the chopper blade coming to get me. And I was praying. Sister of death, sister of mercy, black sister of death, black sister of mercy, lift me up out of here, take me out of the shit and out of the betrayal. And I could feel the great curved metal side of the chopper, and I could see the red running lights in the ring, and I could hear the chopper blades singing, holy, 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 lift me up out of the shit, take me out of here. And then I was free, lifting away in the jungle, and a woman falling away. And I was free, and I could hear the thump, 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 thump of the raindrops on my poncho, taking me away, and I was back in the bush. I was awake, and I was in the bush.
Then a couple years after that, he was feeling like he wanted to extend that project into a film, and we started along that path. But as the writing progressed for the movie, it became more a story of the artistic process and struggle.
The other thing is, if we have the guy, as you are, being a painter or an artist, he doesn't have to be a painter, but an artist, then some of the stuff, some of the Vietnam stuff, some of the head stuff, some of the the recollections or the story, some of the story could be visualized because drawing it or painting it or slapping stuff around, slapping clay around, whatever it is. But some of it could be visualized that way.
That's interesting too.
And all of this stuff is ways of working around not having to go on location in Vietnam,
Right.
or build elaborate sets or get a lot of props,
Are we going to have an arc of transformation so he has a healing? You know what I'm saying? So, but that was one way I thought of showing that, very profound, which is really sort of my story too, It's a lot about dreams, and we could talk about that. But let me read this part to you. If you want to record it,
I'm running. Yeah.
James and I met John Witham and his wife, Linda Leslie, through a local gallery here in Santa Fe, and we became friends. A few years after that, John and I made a little artist process movie for me, for my website, which was very well received. It's a beautiful film.
I started painting when I was very young, at age 5. I did my first oil painting at age 8. I love how paint feels. It's a really fabulous experience to me to have the feeling of dragging paint across a surface with whatever tool I'm using to drag it with. I think paint is a really sensuous thing.
One morning when the four of us were having breakfast at Counterculture here in Santa Fe, Linda said, "Why don't you guys make a movie? Why don't you do some, significant project?" And so we talked about it over a period of maybe 2 months and decided we would do a feature-length film.
We didn't actually have a concrete script when we first decided to make the movie. And in order to inform what was going to be in the script and a part of our process, James and I did a series of what we called camera tests. They were little experimental films to get used to working together. We did one at a remote location in a canyon near Santa Fe, and some other tests in my studio where James would just read some of his ideas or just extemporize on some of his ideas. And that way he got a chance to see how he came across on camera. We got to test out material, and I got to experiment with ways to light a person for a monologue.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, like that's kind of a 3/4.
I like that.
James and I contributed some money to the project. John contributed untold hours of sweat equity for the project. We also conducted an Indiegogo campaign, which we kicked off with a party at a friend's home. It was a very energizing and sustaining experience, and we raised a decent amount of money that way. But our budget was very small. We realized early on in the process we could not use fancy locations, fancy props, and James and I own a warehouse, a studio warehouse, which we created the set in. We decided to do what we call the black box, which was created with inexpensive black photography fabric and gave James a place to roam around in, and sort of it became a metaphor for his mind.
Once we knew what our budget constraints were, it made it a little bit easier to make tough choices about where and how we were going to film, and just concentrate then on what the content was going to be. So initially, we were going to recreate or embellish parts of James's play, as well as introduce him as his character as an artist. And as we did some test scenes and proceeded with some script development along that line, it really became clear that the true story was of him as an artist. And he had this background. He had been to Vietnam, and he had some family issues that informed and affected his work as an artist, but that really it was the story about an artist. It took us a while to experiment and figure out a way to work the artist painting into a script, basically a monologue script.
Imagine. You can't paint anything worth a damn unless you're willing to die doing it. You have to throw yourself into it. Throw yourself off a cliff and paint all the way down. Real art has to have duende, the dark element, the soul, yet tender or it's nothing. Duende. You think I'm in control of my art? I'm not. I'm just a caretaker, really, of something greater than myself. And as long as I'm in touch with that, let the muse move through me, interpret the message, it all works. I wanted to get on with it. And it's taken everything out of me to paint them, to get even close to what I once was.
After we had all these test scenes produced and sorted through some of the ones that we thought were keepers and potential ideas, we had the opportunity to screen many of them with a test audience. They had been people that had helped us with the Indiegogo campaign, that were at the previous party, that had been supporters of the whole project from the get-go. And so we ran some of these ideas past them and got really good feedback on the painting scenes and the music in the painting scenes. So that helped us clarify the direction that we wanted to take the whole production, and really informed how we went about generating the final script.
I realize they're never going away. They're part of me, all of them. The paradox of life. They are both joy and responsibility. Without them, I would have nothing to say, nothing to paint. And in fact, they are the angels, the paintings. The love, the conflict is always there. It means I'm alive. I have to take the past with me. I'm painting hard now. I'm painting so hard. What if I paint something so horribly beautiful and alive? No one wants it. I'm painting furiously. The phone rings. I'm not answering. Thank you. Oh, shit. I got blindsided. I keep thinking I'm over the fucking war, and but every time I think I am, I'm not.
James is actually painting on camera in the movie. And I know that he loved this process. He didn't have to speak. He was totally involved in the painting process, and he was oblivious to the camera and focused completely on his painting.
Once we had a lot of the footage of the final production put together, we arranged some other screenings, and our growing fan base got to give us some feedback on the final stages, some of the final edits, and how the story was really shaping up once we had it all put together.
There's so many complex things happening within this film. And no, if you want a comfortable film, this is not going to be it. No, it's not supposed to be comfortable. It's honest and it's raw and it's naked.
Uncomfortable.
It's an artist. Yeah, and this is what. And
so that brings up a good question. Did you get the feeling from watching this of the internal process that goes on?
Absolutely. Yeah, because at any level, you know, even if you're not as skilled as James is, You go through that.
When we fine-tuned that a little bit, we submitted it to festivals, and WorldFest Houston, which is one of the first international film festivals in the country, gave us a Silver Remy Award for the experimental drama. And it was very significant to us because this was, of all the festivals, this was the one that was purely independent films, fiercely so. And we felt like it was a true evaluation of how we fit in that milieu of independent films.
We've gotten a fabulous reception for this project. Everybody seems to love it. They think it's honest, authentic, raw, and gritty. For many people, they say it's life-changing for them.
No, I know exactly what she's going to say. The ad says angels. People are waiting for angels.
I had seen a little bit of it before. I had blogged them. I think it is so exquisitely visual and beautiful. The way it was choreographed, James was extraordinary. I mean, I was blown away. I loved it.
Can I ask you, what did you think of the cinematography, John's work?
Oh, I was absolutely amazed with the cinematography. I just, I'm a photographer. So I'm just used to composition. The composition in every scene, the lighting, I mean, it was brilliant. It was brilliant. I loved it. And I loved people's connections. I sat next to someone who works in the gallery, Selby Fleetwood, and somebody else who's a filmmaker who really had never met James before. And everyone was just blown away. It was wonderful.
It looks like you're speechless a little bit.
Yeah, for me, that's unusual. I just thought it was, I mean, I was so amazed at how exquisitely done it was.
I've been following this film since the inception, and I'm the one who set this up today here at the Cocteau for him. John's cinematography spoke to me. I believe that he saw between the lines where James sort of left off and John was able to pick up. John had his own voice in the film as well. That was very unique and independent of James.
Thank you very much, Lenore. Do you have anything else you want to add?
I love you guys.
James, as an artist, is untouchable. As a human being, a giant, and his spirit is immeasurable. Thank you, James.
And we served in Vietnam at the same time period. Art's the solution, you know. Art's the solution to your soul, you know, for forgiveness.
And there were definitely passages in the movie that I connected to from a process point of view really strongly. I mean, I gotta say, I love the music soundtrack a lot. It was not intrusive, but it was not superficial either. It had a depth to it.
It helped tell the story.
And it helped with the mood, and also there was not a lot of action in the movie, so it helped with the kind of more reflective element of the psychology of the movie. It inspires me just that he's a person that searches and is never satisfied with the first take. And I'm that kind of painter too. I love to overpaint things, and just that he shared that. It's a very vulnerable thing to share that publicly, and also the frustrations and the moments of feeling doubt. And that was very powerful. Just a great movie, very, very profound, I thought. And probably nobody but James could have really pulled it off that well. Because not very many artists are that flamboyant as performers, and he really carried it in terms of his expressive.
Good story.
And some good lines, good writing, yeah. Anyway.
Well, thank you so much. How do you know James or John's and John's?
I've been a friend of John's for quite a while, and I have known James more recently, and I think they're both brilliant, and I love the movie, and the fact that John could make that movie and do all that editing and also do the amazing soundtrack is just incredible. He and Rusty did such a beautiful job on the music, and it was so haunted and so spare, and they know what to leave out, and it was a very good match to sort of that lonely feeling that you have when you look at the blank canvas. I'm also a painter. Or the blank piece of paper. I'm also a writer. I know what it means to like be faced with trying to start something. And it's this movie is about trying to start something and see where it goes, and have enough faith in yourself to get there. And I think they captured it beautifully, and I love this edit of it. I think it's wonderful.
James is telling his story, but John is capturing it, and I think there's a lot of John in there as well. What is your response to that?
I think that John is a person who is extremely gifted at knowing and recognizing other people and what is the essence of the other person, and it makes him an extraordinary filmmaker because he sees beyond sort of maybe words that are written to a deeper feeling that is underneath that, and he captures that with the editing and the camera angles, the light coming through the slashes in the canvas. It was absolutely beautiful. I mean, I think he really knows how to apprehend another human being.
I think you're right. Working with John, I work with John on a different level with Los Foodies, and you're right. I think he does capture that. He's able to pull out the story from whoever the subject is and interpret it in a way that's very easy for the audience to understand.
I think so too, and I think this is a dynamite picture because it's neither a documentary nor totally fictional. It falls into this very interesting realm where you take the process that's involved in making your art and then you make another kind of art out of it. And we get to an age where we want to look at what we've done before and reuse it in a new way, or use it as a springboard to the next thing that we're going to do. And this movie kind of captures the way in which looking at what you've done before can only take you so far. You need the continuity with your old self, but you also need to keep breaking out of it, keep moving, you know?
Keep moving.
Yeah, keep moving.
I have a question for you. Do you have anything that you want to say to friends, colleagues that haven't seen the movie?
Oh, People that do creative things should see this movie. Anybody who writes or paints or does music should see this movie.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'm extremely grateful to the fans that we've had all along and to the new fans that are coming along. This process was a big challenge for all of us, and the kind of support and feedback and encouragement that we got from people all through the process has made it sustainable, and it honestly kept us going through some of the tough spots.